One specific type of disaccharide that gets a lot of pub, obviously, is sucrose. And again, it's naturally occurring in a number of different things, as we can see. You can find it in honey, carrots, pineapples. Carrots and pineapples ain't bad for you. But it's not these naturally occurring sources that really concern me or should concern any of us. It's the refined sugar. Okay? Most of the sugar that we have in our diet is refined. When it is refined, that means it is processed. And when you process foods, stuff generally gets lost. A lot of nutrients get removed during the process of foods. Sugar is definitely one of them. You want a sugar that's slightly less processed? Well, that's sugar in the raw. So turbinado is another name for it. Turbinado, sugar in the raw. Turbinado is just another name for it. I think pretty much in our stores, it's called sugar in the raw. So what does that mean? What does that raw sugar or turbinado sugar mean? It just means when it comes processed from sugarcane, there's only like one process and one pressing of it. So it retains more of the natural kind of flavors from the plant. If it's completely refined, then it's that white stuff that we have on our shelves. Okay, so that's how you get that less refined sugar. None of these are the greatest of sources for nutrients. If I look over here, guys, gals, I'm not gonna ask you to memorize this. Okay, I'm just showing you sweeteners that have, some are very common sweeteners, some that have a lot of sucrose in them. All right. Shoot, some high fructose corn syrup. There you go. It's it's full of that bad, evil stuff. But as you can kind of see, I mean, we consider honey pretty damn unoffensive. It's 64 calories compared to high fructose corn syrup. That's 53. Honey has more carbs than high fructose corn syrup. So poop, just by looking at that phenomena right there, I mean, it may seem that high fructose corn syrup isn't that bad. Molasses, brown sugar, and you can kind of see not really great sources. I mean, honey is better just because, it has, some nutrients within it compared to all the others that don't really have a whole heck of a lot. Okay. Maple syrup. But you can kind of see just because it's considered quote unquote better for you because it's less processed. I mean, you can still see, calories can add up. And that's what I'm just trying to convey here. You still have to abide by these things called serving size. Same thing with agave, for God's sakes. Agave has a ton of calories associated with it as well. But it has such a high sweet factor that technically you don't have to use a lot of it. But I mean, what do we do? I mean, I got to get every part of that bread covered in it or it's not considered a serving. And that's not the case. So, and that's the hard part sometimes with these things, that even though they're quote unquote healthy for you, the serving size can get astronomical really quick. And that's kind of all I'm trying to show you here. Why is, sugar, why is white granulated sugar so bad for you? I mean, as you can see, it's kind of low in calories, but I mean, what the heck is it? I mean, there's basically zero. That's, geez Louise, that's 100th of a milligram. That's not a lot. So as you can see, granulated sugar has basically everything refined the heck out of it. And that's what happens with anything that's refined, unless we, add it back to it during the process at some point. High fructose corn syrup. I mentioned it. Here it is. I mean, where's it come? You know, I assume you know. It comes from the processing of corn. There's no conclusive evidence that the use of this specifically, high fructose corn syrup, causes poor health or causes disease. What is causing all this stuff though? Who can I blame? I gotta blame somebody. It's not my fault. It's excess calories from beverages, foods with this extra amount of high fructose corn syrup. This is what increases the risk for diabetes and heart disease when I add a buttload of it. Why would I add a buttload of it? To keep this thing stable on my shelf for the next 6 months to a year. That's why. It's found in a lot of stuff. Okay? It's found in most of your processed foods. And you can have it in small amounts. But what do we eat in huge, large amounts here in the United States? Processed foods. Okay? These tend to be very less nutrient dense than real food, fresh food, I mean. And they're much more calorically dense, these processed foods. So not a lot of nutrients, a lot of calories, and what do we eat? Hand over fist in? All those types of foods that have a lot of this stuff. High fructose corn syrup is just along for the ride. 9.9 times out of 10, unless you have a true metabolic disorder, some kind of true genetic disease, it's all excess calorie consumption. That is what it breaks down to. And I hate to burst your bubble on some of these other diet plans that expound the holy virtues of their nutrient that they want to cast as the evil specter. That's not the problem. It's how much you are consuming that is the problem. And until you figure out how much a serving size is, it's the hardest damn part of this whole process of quote unquote eating better.